Yeah, there's great things about the virtual environment that you couldn't possibly replicate, in person. But the opposite is true as well. And so you can bring all those together, and then there's this huge landscape of opportunities.
Good morning.
Morning, Joseph. Morning,
How's it
Sune.
going?
Good, good.
I'm tweeting out Justin Shell all over. Okay, so I think that's probably sufficient. All right, so now the most important part of our interviews is the simultaneous slurp.
Oh, gotcha. I'll always have a cup of coffee.
Beverage. Oh, we got Austin. Yo, Austin, what's up?
Morning.
Yeah, all right. So raise your glass. Cheers. Oh yeah, this day just got better. Oh man. So Austin, I'd like you to meet a new friend of ours, new friend of the whole school, Justin Shell of MySchool.
How you doing, Austin?
Good, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing well.
We stayed up till 11 talking about an equation to describe the rate of learning the other day. And then I kept staying up writing it out. And then I called him like the next morning and I'm like, what'd you think, man? How we doing? We got to figure this out like now.
Yeah, you're very figured out now kind of guy, which I'm all about.
Oh man. So like, where do we start? I mean, I think maybe you could just tell us about MySchool. Tell us a little bit about how you got into it, because I love it.
Yeah.
And then, we'll just chat.
All right. Yeah, so I started MySchool. I guess the project originally started back in about 2018. I've got 3 kids. I had one then, and I was just kind of looking into educational options for my daughter, and just looking around at what's available. And um, you know, our local public school wasn't that great. We looked at the private schools, and we're like, well, I don't really think we could afford any of those. They were, some of the ones around here are like $25,000-$30,000 a year, so that wasn't gonna happen.
Just changing the couch. I mean,
yeah. So we started beating around the idea, like, what about homeschooling? And I thought, okay, well, potentially we could do that, but I don't think we can do it all on our own. What other options, are out there to just kind of supplement, different things? And so I started looking around and, joining different Facebook groups and seeing what other people did and, how they did it. And they talked about all these different things that they were doing and all these different places they were going and, different groups they were joining. And it was really confusing to figure out, what all those things were around us, because sometimes they were like national groups, sometimes they were statewide groups. And, so I just took all these places that they were talking about and I put them on like a Google My Map. And then, I said, hey, anybody else has anything they want to add to it, go ahead and do that. And so people were sending me stuff to add to it. I said, this would be great if it was just like a functional tool where anybody could add, their own resources and what they could bring to the table. And then we just build out this, geographical landscape of educational opportunities. And that's kind of what MySchool is now, is, just it's a user-generated set of maps with, different events that people are throwing and different places that people can go to learn things, co-ops, and now even people themselves wanted to create personal profiles and put them up on the map and say, hey, this is around where I live. Anybody else in my area, I'd love to connect, and maybe we can do this together. So that's kind of how MySchool started.
So I found out about Justin's MySchool network from Facebook, and when I reached out to him, he sent me a message, and I stepped out of watching the what was it, the killer whales or the dolphin show? I think it was the dolphin show. some kind of really awesome show at SeaWorld. I don't remember what it was because I didn't see it. I was too busy talking to Justin about my school.
I think you mentioned it was the killer whale show.
Okay.
Because I was taken aback and I was like, I would really love to see a killer whale show.
I'm sure it was killer. I mean, and I was like, I'd rather talk to you than spend time watching killer whales with my kids. And then I think at the very end,
Very
I
flattered.
was like, I actually just saw this like 2 years ago, and I kind of remember it. But the power of this being in collaboration with WEquil School just hit me immediately. It was like, okay, we've got, thanks to Sume, thank you, Sume, builds this out and has this virtual learning platform. But we really didn't have anything that helped people link up geographically until 2 months ago. We added a new channel called Recess. That was the best we had. Was, how about if a kid wants to go out and play, they'll just say, hey, I'm going to go out and play. That was actually huge because, kids that want to hang out with other kids in the neighborhood, they can't just go out and play in America now, right? They have to schedule a play date with their family, right? And then they have to go up on the Google Calendar. They have to message out all the other families. We got to schedule it all. Then we show up, right? And then we put around like a little fence around the kids, because God forbid, like anything in the outside world comes in, right, and disrupts the perfect. So this was huge because it basically took away all these barriers in between kids just playing with each other. And it didn't take hardly anything. But that's nothing compared to MySchool. So it's essentially allowing you to not only find people in your neighborhood that are within this network, but also identify all sorts and varieties of learning opportunities that are near you. And it's like this perfect complement with WEquil School, because we really have nothing that was helping us to link up geographically. And I think I'm learning that there really are some powerfully important things that we can get physically when we're with people. I'm learning that just in the past week and a half, because we hired Antigone Stark to be with us, and so she's physically coming to our home, and it's like that immersion just brought her up to speed within like 2 days. She got it. She was just living with it, right? Spending that physical time with you, Austin, when we went down to Florida and was just like doing the Smith immersion program, So I just am very thankful that I found you, and that, we're looking and exploring ways to use each other's networks, because I'm humbled by it. I'd like to think, oh, virtual everything. And it's like, no, something.
There's great things about the virtual environment that you couldn't possibly replicate, in person. But the opposite is true as well. And so I think they're both really nice complementary pieces of the puzzle. And you can bring all those together, and then there's this huge landscape of opportunities that you can go from there. So
Justin, is that an app or is it a website?
it's a website. So yeah, it's a web app. It's mobile friendly. So you can go on there from your mobile phone.
Just myschool.com or
myschoolatHome.io.
We have the link in the Facebook group. We dropped it in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
definitely gonna check that out.
Austin is the father of Corey Smith, who's partner on Blended Mix. We haven't worked out the actual equity stake yet within that partnership, but Isla, age 9, Corey, age 10, are working on expanding out what is, I think, a very legit and really creative new app to build the perfect smoothies for people in their neighborhoods. So I know we mentioned this on our last call. I mentioned this, Isla is taking out the dog. That's her responsibility. So I'm going to go ahead and mention this on her behalf. But we're definitely planning on using this new app and this startup as one of the ways that we want to try to grow the connection between our networks, right? Because it's like, here's this app. Well, just a little bit. Maybe, do you want to talk about the app a little bit, like how it works, like the function of how you get, the iteration to,
Well, originally Isla was gonna deliver like the healthiest breakfast in the world, but we realized that would be just way too much work, even if she only had 10 neighbors ordering from her. And so we were thinking about making smoothies, and since I was teaching Isla Flutter and we were building a lot of apps, I was thinking to make an app where you could choose which things you wanted in your smoothie, which is something that's very different, because usually they just have set recipes and then you would order from that. So basically you would be able to build things exactly how you wanted it, to a degree where you could choose how many strawberries, for example, you wanted in your smoothie, and things like that.
Well, you start with a default, but then you iterate and improve toward your perfect smoothie.
Yeah,
That was my idea. Anyway, so I think using your net, and I think we'll have to play around with it more to figure out how we can weave it in. But this is like one of those things, if you have some like flagship service or product that you can't get anywhere else, and the perfect smoothie company, the only one that can do it through that, I think it would be really fun to try to do. So maybe we could bring it back to Justin, ask him about his yachts, because at some point we might have to get him to design us a yacht for WEquil School. This is like way down the road. There's no commitment.
Yeah, no, it's always good to plan ahead though. So.
But I'd like you to talk about your background in entrepreneurship, because it's really interesting. And somebody doesn't just up and drop their work and just like start a company as soon as they have kids, unless they're a certain kind of guy that's worth talking to. Very interesting. So maybe share some more about that.
Yeah, maybe maybe a week before I was having my second kid. It wasn't like the opportunity, it wasn't the opportune moment to drop everything and start this project, but
honey, I got an idea.
But I sold my wife on it, and she signed off, and so I was like, all right, let's do this. But yeah, prior to that, so my formal education is in naval architecture and marine engineering. I have a master's in yacht design, and yeah, basically my focus for a lot of my life was designing boats. So I designed my first one in kindergarten. It went pretty well. It was awful in hindsight, but
Whoa. First of all, master in yacht design. I didn't know that was a thing.
No.
And then second of all, kindergarten boat? What? Okay.
Yeah, no, I've always loved boats.
Do you have a picture of the boat from the kindergarten? Like, I would love to see that. It'd be fun to see a side by side. The first and the most recent.
Yeah, the first one, it probably wouldn't have floated.
I love it.
Yeah, a lot of problems with it. The anchor was definitely way oversized, so that would have just messed up the trim completely.
You got really quiet, Justin, for some reason.
No, I think it's because Austin's audio input is just higher than.
Oh,
how's that if I just move closer? Is that?
Oh no, that's good.
Okay, that works.
That's good.
You could also go to audio settings.
Oh yeah, do you see audio
and then
settings?
Turn up input volume, and don't turn it all the way up, or else it's
on the bottom left, where that little mic is, there's a little arrow that you can click on that points up.
And then you audio settings.
And then audio settings is at the very bottom.
Oh, it's automatically adjusting. That was what it was doing. How's that?
Oh, that's way better. Yay. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Austin. I want the side by side, and so if I can get that, then I can put that as the cover thumbnail for our discussion up on YouTube.
All right. I don't know if I have the original one. It's up here. Yeah. I know. I threw away all those things, and the newer iterations are better.
You can't live in the past.
Exactly.
It's move forward.
We'll see what the next best thing is, and we'll work toward that. So yeah, constant improvement, right? but yeah, no, so yes, my formal education's in, and after I got out of college, I went and spent about a decade first building small boats, doing designs for basically small recreational builders, and then spent about 7 years specifically with large mega yacht stability systems, which are big hydraulic systems that actively stabilize yachts so that really really wealthy people don't get too sick on their really really big boats. So when
I
I
can
when I was
see
describing
the
this to
real
people, I was
passion. How could you leave this job? The
it
passion
was
you had for helping prevent rich people from feeling nauseous, just
yes,
to help
well,
kids with MySchool. I mean, it's hard.
it was yeah. I was looking at the mission, and people were, I was trying to discuss what hydraulic stabilization systems on mega yachts were, and people were like, so what is that? And I was like, basically, I'm trying to make really wealthy people a little bit less sick. And
Cheers.
then and then I looked at this and I was like, this can't be my life mission. Hmm.
It's
you know
power.
but but I had really gotten into education just out of curiosity, and I've been reading everything I could about it, and really got focused on it for a couple of years before I jumped ship, so to speak. And then so yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
That's so cool. Tell
Yeah.
me, oh, you got to tell the story about how I was asking you if you were into writing, and you're like, yeah, the other day I couldn't sleep. Couldn't
But
sleep.
yeah, so sometimes, and I need to get more into writing. It's a fantastic way to structure your thoughts. And yeah, I think it was like, so my wife works nights, and so I woke up, and I have a 9-month-old who needed to eat in the middle of the night, so I wouldn't feed him, and that was an opportunity where I started thinking. And so after I put him back to bed, I laid back in bed to fall back asleep, and just couldn't. And I was beating around this, you know, what are all the different factors that kind of take an experience, or something you've learned, and turn that into long-term memory, and what are the different factors that make that more likely to stick, and how do these all play together. And I spent far too many hours from like 2 to 5 just kind of beating this around in my head, and then scratching some notes. And then finally I was, got that all out and fell back asleep for half an hour before the other kids woke up. So so that's kind of my process.
In there.
And yeah, and it would probably be better to have a process that involved a set amount of sleep, because sleep is actually incredibly important in the learning
Sleep
process.
is probably in the function. We should have that in our equation for learning is sleep.
It is. It's quite important, and I'm realizing that more and more as I do more and more research. But I haven't quite figured out how to fit it into my life yet.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming.
Well,
But I've got this cup of sleep that always helps.
yeah, see, coffee and sleep are perfect substitutes.
Exactly.
That's what I told Sume when she was 8, and now she's running a company. Right.
Yeah. So we supplement when we can.
Yeah. Well, I feel like one of the things that I try to find is like people that are just so relentlessly curious. And because these end up being the kinds of people that we want within our school, even if they don't have kids. I'll be, you should join WEquil school. Be like, I'm 45 and I'm single. I'll be like, I don't care. You should be on there, because it's really more like building a community of people who are uber curious about something, right? The kinds of people who would stay up late at night thinking about something, because you can dive forever into these things. I think one thing I don't like about grades is that grades tell kids there's a limit to how much you can learn about a subject. You ever think about that? It's like, oh, I got an A in history. It's
I
like,
know
kid,
everything about history.
kid, you
now.
don't know nothing about history,
Oh,
And it's like, okay, how do I find people that are so interested in trying to understand the mechanism of learning that they're literally losing sleep over it because they realize how deep it is, but they're pulled into it by how important it is. So that's another reason why I'm excited to work with you, because I just feel like there's so much I can learn from a guy like you.
I mean, I've already learned a lot from you too. Our discussion the other day, and I think that term that you use, specific knowledge, was is really good. Yeah, I guess Sume, you wrote a
That
piece
was,
about it,
no,
right?
she taught me. So she's
Well,
reading
this
up on,
this is the important of social learning experiences. One person talks about it to another, then another person talks about it to somebody else, and
yeah. Talk about specific knowledge. This is so good.
Yeah.
no, yeah, you bring it
Lean
forward
in, lean in,
I'm
honey.
just starting to learn about this. So
I forgot exactly how Naval
I like
defined it.
I think you built on it. So just roll with
Yeah,
your.
well, okay, but
no.
yeah, well, basically the way I define it is more like taking all your experiences, conversations you've had, cultures that you've lived in, things like that, people that you've met, and then all of that makes it so that you build up your specific knowledge, which makes it's something that can not be taught but only learned by these things, and so that, and it makes you irreplaceable because
I think
it's
the
specific
path.
to
I think
you.
the path of getting to irreplaceable.
Mhm.
That's the part that I added on top of that. That from if I can take academic credit for anything, it's like, but it's like, okay, life is an iterative process too. So when my wife and I go, and we went down to Iowa State to talk to a bunch of the grad students there about this, and like one of the common questions that young people will ask is like, what do I do with my life, and it's like, you don't get to decide what to do with your life, you get to decide what to do tomorrow. And the question is, okay, well, what do you do? Like, what's the opportunity set, right? There's all these things you can do. It's like, okay, well, within that set, well, then which one of those do you pick? And, you want to pick something that, one, is going to give you even more options in the next iterations, but also one that is leveraging your strengths and interests. The strengths are important because this is the thing this is the leverage you bring to bear, right? But then the interest makes it so it's not work. And you want to do things that other people look at that and go, that sounds like work, man. Justin's really excited about finding all these like geographic opportunities for learning in his neighborhood. And it's like, yeah, because he's got kids and he wants to know, so it's not even work, right? So you're like leveraging that too. And you keep doing that. And all of a sudden you look back and there's just this path of experiences that's unique to you. That's the part that makes you irreplaceable. And it's like the opposite of, my kid has a high school diploma along with like 50 million other people, and it all means the same thing. Or look, I just got an MBA and along with like 100,000 other graduates, this year. And so it's like, I want something that makes me distinct. So that was long.
That was also the documentary, the 20-minute documentary, is making everybody the same.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sorry, that was too long. Probably we should have.
No, I think, yeah. I never really had a term to define that kind of thought, but I hear people say, we're not all unique, and there's a lot of things that make us not unique. There's a lot of similarities, and those are important as well. But for all kinds of reasons, about how we learn, how we survive, how humans have evolved in general. Those are a lot of things that make us alike, but there's also things that make us unique, and every individual themselves is unique because you are the product of an infinite number of moments throughout your life, and the things that you bring together, and how those different pieces of information, how those different nodes of one experience, or a new thing you learned, or a place you went, how those are all going to play together is impossible to know. And so you bring those all together, and that's that specific knowledge that you've cultivated. And it's
man, that was beautiful. Yeah. Well, we're gonna put this into a document and share it. This is gonna be our a flagship article where Justin and with MySchool and WEquil School start doing more writing together. So that's something we're putting together.
Yeah, it's challenging my thinking and expanding it. And so, yeah, thanks for the opportunity on that. I'm excited about it.
Maybe we let's see how much more time we got. We got 4 more minutes. Maybe talk a little bit more about your vision for MySchool, and then also tell folks where they can go to get more information. And we're gonna put all this information in our Facebook and YouTube channel as well. But let's go ahead and give Justin give him a spot to share his vision here.
Or I think so. You know, the long-term vision is to, bring on as many different organizations and individuals as possible. And so, some of the different places we have are sometimes they're parks or museums, sometimes they're homeschool co-ops, organizations that run classes or field trips, things like that. And then sometimes they're individuals. I've hosted several field trips. A few weeks ago, we went to a local kangaroo ranch and just said, hey, there's 15 spots available if anybody else wants to come. And people picked those up, and we just all met up at a outdoor kangaroo ranch in Maryland, which who knew that existed. But yeah, we were able to learn a lot about kangaroos and wallabies and other wildlife from Australia. Get to meet them and pet them. And I even petted a porcupine, which I thought was not something that you could pet, but apparently their head's soft enough, not spiny. And so they're okay there. But yeah, I mean, those are really unique experiences that if you're not really looking for them, or you don't know somebody who happens to know about it, there's all these small suppliers, whether they're a ranch or a farm or something like that. And all these people do all kinds of interesting things, but they're hard to find. I think John Green, who's the author of Paper Towns, had this quote, and it was, maps don't show us where we will go, they show us where we might go, but we rarely go to places that aren't on our map. And so, I'm looking at putting the opportunity together where you can find all the different options, personalize it, find your favorites, build out your map of the things that your kids want to learn, and, figure out when you can go there and how to go there, and invite other people to join you. And so if we can bring all these resources together and all these people doing all kinds of different things, then, there's a lot more that we can learn from a social perspective, on an in-person social learning platform that MySchool is trying to build. So,
I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to just fight for Justin and get everybody we possibly can on this network. I mean, it just seems like there's just nothing to lose here. So I'm going to do everything that I can within our portal to make that easily accessible, because I think it'll help our families. So
yeah, and I think I'm always trying to explore new ways to make it work better for groups of people. And I think if there was we can build some way for WEquil schools community to all find each other much more easily. And then some of those projects that you guys do, you can physically get together and do them in person. And there's great things about connecting with somebody across the United States, and there's really great things about connecting with somebody down the street. And so if you have both opportunities, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, man. This is great. I'm so glad to have met you. So excited about what we're going to do. This is going to be fun.
It will. Always is.
All right. Austin, Justin, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure chatting with. All right, everybody have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.